The successful revolution against England gave the American people an independent place in the family of nations. It gave them 1,000 memories of mutual hope and struggle. But most of all, it gave them a challenge to prove that they possessed a genuine ability to hold their new place, to prove their capability of self-government. In September 1620, a merchant ship called the Mayflower set sail from Plymouth. Typically, the Mayflower's cargo was wine and dry goods, but on this trip, the ship carried passengers. Nearly 40 of these passengers called themselves saints who hoped to establish a new church in the New World. Today, we often refer to these colonists who crossed the Atlantic on the Mayflower as pilgrims. They were the first colonies to come together to create the United States, including New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. The American Revolutionary War started in the year 1775, and it was set off by a British army trying to seize ammunition in Concord of Massachusetts. In 1778, the United States of America and France signed a pact of trade. This allowed them to depend on France as an ally. The Stamp Act is one of the acts Britain set on the Americans because they needed more money to repay the debts they owed after the French and Indian War. The Stamp Act was the first act where the colonists were directly taxed, and this infuriated the Americans, of course. The Stamp Act basically said that all documents, paper, etc. of the sort must have a stamp on it to be legal. On the evening of March 5th, 1770, Private Hugh White was on guard in front of the Customs House on King Street in Boston. A crowd of people had gathered and begun harassing the soldier. His calls for help brought 9 soldiers led by Captain Thomas Preston. The crowd continued to harass the soldiers with insults and were throwing snowballs at them. In the commotion, someone yelled, "Fire!" and soldiers began shooting. 3 townspeople were killed, 8 more were wounded, and 2 died later. On December 16, 1773, 3 ships went into the Boston harbor. Colonists of Boston, who were actually in disguise as Indians, emptied 342 chests of tea into the harbor. The government was shocked. They couldn't believe that their own citizens would be showing such lack of respect for their royals. The government was going to get them back. Stated in the Intolerable Acts, the government was making the people of Boston to pay back every bit of money that was put into the tea that they wasted. In 1775, General Thomas Gage sent 700 British troops from Boston to seize or destroy military supplies at Concord, as well as to arrest Samuel Adams and John Hancock for treason. Patriot leader Joseph Warren sent Paul Revere and William Dawes to separate routes to warn Samuel Adams and John Hancock that the British were coming to arrest them for treason. The 1775 Battle of Bunker Hill was the pivotal battle for American colonists in their bid for independence. Battered down by attacks from the British Army during the siege of Boston, the events of June 17, 1775 provided much needed encouragement for the colonists, as well as sending a clear message to the British that the war would not be won quickly or easily. On September 17, 1787, 42 of the 55 delegates of the Constitutional Convention held their final meeting. Only one item of business occupied the agenda that day: to sign the Constitution of the United States of America. The Constitution was to make all laws necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foreign powers. On June 21, 1788, the Constitution was officially adopted by the U.S. when New Hampshire ratified it.